I'm Nora. I'm sitting in my friend Sarah's cozy apartment, the air filled with the warm aroma of lasagna. A few months have passed since the chaos, but the memories are still as vivid as if they happened yesterday. It all started when I was about to collect my things from the apartment I once shared with my boyfriend, Ethan. I was mentally prepared for a difficult conversation with him, but when I opened the door, it wasn't Ethan standing there. It was his mother, Mrs. Thompson. She was dressed in an elegant, expensive black suit, her perfectly styled hair and designer handbag oozing sophistication. She surveyed the apartment with a look of disdain, her eyes lingering on the simple furniture and the colorful art on the walls that I loved. I felt a surge of anger rise within me. This was my space, a place where I didn't have to deal with her judgment. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice colder than I intended, holding an empty cardboard box like a shield. She offered a smile that lacked any warmth. "Ethan is very upset. He told me you were coming to get your things. I thought it would be best if I were here to mediate." "Mediate?" I let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "You're the one who caused all this. You don't get to play the peacemaker now." She waved her hand dismissively. "You overreacted. I made a simple, practical statement and you created an embarrassing scene. You humiliated my son." I walked past her towards the bedroom. "Where is he anyway? Did you ground him?" "He's out running some errands for me," she said with a pointed look. "He understands the importance of family obligations." I ignored her and started opening drawers, pulling out my clothes and piling them on the bed. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to stay calm. I wouldn't let her see how much she affected me. Mrs. Thompson followed me, leaning against the doorframe. "You know, this is really for the best. You and Ethan are simply not compatible." "Because I won't let you walk all over me?" I shot back without looking at her. "Because you're not from our world, dear," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "You have your own small life and a simple job. It's nice, but Ethan has a family legacy to uphold. He needs a partner who can manage a large household, host important events, and sit on charity boards. Someone with the right background." I stopped what I was doing and turned to face her. "I don't have the right background because my parents are schoolteachers and not wealthy business people. I had to work hard through college instead of having it paid for by a trust fund." "Don't be so defensive," she chided. "I'm just saying you're not suited for the life expected of Ethan's wife. You're a lovely girl, but you're just a chapter in his life, not the whole book. I've always known that. I'm just being honest to spare you further hurt." Her twisted logic was infuriating. She wasn't apologizing, she was positioning herself as the wise one, saving me from my own inadequacies. I felt my composure start to crumble. "So, you've been trying to break us up for the past 3 years?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. She gave a delicate shrug. "I've been trying to help my son see reality. He's always had a soft heart and a weakness for lost causes." Lost cause. That's what I was to her. Not a person, not the woman her son loved, but a project to be fixed. I felt a cold, diamond-hard fury take over. I walked out of the bedroom and into the kitchen, a place filled with so many happy memories of Ethan and me cooking and laughing together. Her presence here felt like a violation. I opened the pantry and on the top shelf, behind the cereal, was an expensive bottle of 30-year-old single malt scotch, a gift from Ethan's father to him last Christmas. Mrs. Thompson had made a big deal about its rarity and high price. I grabbed the bottle. "What are you doing?" she asked, a flicker of alarm in her eyes. "You said I was a chapter in his life," I said, unscrewing the cap. "Well, chapters have endings, and I think this one deserves a memorable finale." I walked over to the sink, held her gaze, and started pouring the amber liquid down the drain. A stream of expensive scotch, smelling of peat and oak, gurgled away. "Mrs. Thompson gasped, her composed facade shattering. Stop that. Are you insane? Do you know how much that costs? She rushed towards me, her hands outstretched to grab the bottle. I held it out of her reach, continuing to pour. It's just a temporary arrangement, like me, easily disposed of. When the bottle was empty, I placed it gently on the counter. Her face was pale with shock and rage. You will regret this. I will make sure Ethan knows what a childish, vindictive person you truly are. He already knows who I am, I said, turning to face her fully. The real question is whether he knows who you are. Just then, we heard a key in the lock. The front door opened, and Ethan walked in, carrying a paper bag of groceries. He stopped dead, his eyes darting between my stony face and his mother's furious one. The empty Scotch bottle on the counter was like a smoking gun. What's going on? He asked, his voice laced with dread. Mrs. Thompson recovered first. She composed her features into a mask of wounded sadness. Ethan, darling, I came here to try and reason with her, to fix things, and she became hysterical. She's been destroying your property. She pointed a shaking finger at the empty bottle. Ethan looked at the bottle, then at me. His expression was a mix of confusion and disappointment. He was buying her act. I didn't say a word. I just watched him, waiting. This was the final test. Who would he believe? The woman he'd loved for 3 years, or the mother who had manipulated him his whole life? She poured out Dad's scotch? He asked, his voice barely a whisper, his eyes locked on me, full of accusation. All of it, Mrs. Thompson said, pressing a hand to her chest. She was unhinged. I saw the trust in his eyes flicker and die. He took a step towards her, a protective, instinctual movement. He had chosen again. A strange sense of calm settled over me. It was over. Truly over. Fine, I said, my voice flat. Believe her. I walked back into the bedroom to get my box of clothes. I could hear them whispering in the living room, his mother's soothing tones and his confused murmurs. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to be gone. I hoisted the box, which was now heavy with my belongings, and walked back out. Mrs. Thompson was now standing beside Ethan, her hand on his arm, looking like the perfect picture of maternal comfort. As I walked toward the door, she gave me a tiny, almost imperceptible smile of pure triumph. I paused at the door and turned back to look at them one last time. You know, Mrs. Thompson, you call me temporary. You call me a lost cause, but I'm walking out of here with my integrity. I wonder what you'll have left when he finally sees you for who you really are. She scoffed, but I saw a flash of uncertainty in Ethan's eyes. It wasn't much, but it was something. As I was about to walk out the door, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it, but on a whim, I pulled it out. It was a text from an unknown number. I opened it, and it was a single image, a screenshot of a conversation. My blood ran cold as I read the words. It was a text exchange between Mrs. Thompson and an unknown person. Mrs. Thompson, is everything in place for Monday? We need this to go smoothly. He can't know I was involved. Unknown. All set. The internal investigation will be anonymous. By the time they're done, her professional reputation will be in tatters. She won't get a job in this city again. Mrs. Thompson. My box slipped from my grasp, hitting the floor with a dull thud. For a moment, I thought he would obey, but a flicker of curiosity, or perhaps a lingering sliver of loyalty to me, won out. He took the phone from my hand. I watched his face as he read the screenshot. His brow furrowed in confusion, then his eyes widened in disbelief. He read it again, his thumb scrolling back and forth as if he couldn't process the words. The color drained from his face. He looked up, not at me, but at his mother. Mom, he whispered, his voice cracking. What is this? This has to be a joke, right? Mrs. Thompson's composure finally broke. A flicker of pure panic crossed her features before she masked it with indignation. It's obviously fake. She's desperate. She's probably been sitting in her car for an hour creating this fabrication to try and win you back. But her denial was too quick, too shrill. I saw the doubt solidify into horrified certainty in Ethan's eyes. He knew his mother. He knew her capabilities, her ruthlessness. He pulled the phone back, protecting it from her grasp. Who sent this to you? He asked me, his eyes pleading. I don't know, I said honestly. The number is blocked. Maybe it's someone you've both underestimated. Someone with a conscience. I suspected it might be his sister Lily, who had always been a silent observer of her mother's manipulations. Or perhaps even his father, a man who rarely spoke but saw everything. It didn't matter. The truth was out. Ethan looked at his mother truly for the first time in his life without the filter of filial devotion. He saw not a protective parent but a saboteur. You were going to ruin her career? He asked, his voice shaking with anger and betrayal. Because you didn't like her? Because she poured out a bottle of scotch? Don't be naive, Ethan, Mrs. Thompson spat, abandoning all pretense of innocence. This has nothing to do with the scotch. This is about your future. She is a distraction, a dead end. I did what was necessary to protect you, to protect our family's legacy. Protect me? He roared, a sound of raw anguish I had never heard from him before. By trying to destroy an innocent person, the person I love. What kind of protection is that? This isn't love, Mom. It's poison. It's control. He turned to me, his face full of regret. I am so sorry. I've been such a fool. I've let her do this. I've let her say these things. I've been weak. I should have stood up for you from the very beginning. I should have been on that cruise with you, not them. The apology was everything I had wanted to hear for 3 years. But hearing it now, in the wreckage of our relationship, it felt too late. The damage was done. The trust was irrevocably broken, not just by her actions, but by his inaction. Yes, Ethan, you should have, I said, my voice soft but firm. I took my phone back from his hand. I looked at Mrs. Thompson, whose face was a mask of cold fury. She had lost. Her ultimate power play had backfired spectacularly, and in her son's eyes, she was no longer a queen, but a tyrant. I won't be needing to pack the rest of my things right now, I said, my gaze sweeping over both of them. I gestured to the screenshot on my phone. I think I have a more pressing matter to attend to. A potential issue at work that I need to get ahead of. I have to go speak with my boss and maybe a lawyer. The threat hung in the air. Mrs. Thompson's face went white. An internal investigation she instigated was one thing. A formal harassment complaint from me, armed with evidence against the wife of a prominent businessman, was another thing entirely. It would be messy. It would be public. It would tarnish the precious family name she was so desperate to protect. Ethan stepped towards me, his hand reaching out. Wait, he pleaded. Let me fix this. I can fix this. We can fix this. I looked at his outstretched hand and then at his face. I saw the love there, but I also saw the years of weakness, the pattern of capitulation that would likely never change. He might stand up to her today, but what about tomorrow? What about the next time she disapproved of something? I would be fighting this battle for the rest of my life. I took a step back, out of his reach. There is no we anymore, Ethan, I said, the finality of the words settling in my own heart. You need to fix your relationship with your mother. I need to go live a life where I don't have to constantly fight for my own worth. I bent down, picked up my fallen box of clothes, and walked out the door without looking back. The next day, I preemptively met with my boss, explained the situation with a calm professionalism I didn't know I possessed, and showed him the message. He was appalled and assured me of the company's full support. The anonymous tip never materialized. My career was safe. Ethan called and texted for weeks. He told me he had moved out of his mother's house, that he'd given her an ultimatum, that he was in therapy. He begged for another chance. I never responded. My healing required a clean break. Now, sitting here in Sarah's apartment, looking at the photo of the family's Greek cruise that Lily sent me, Ethan's father looking bored, Mrs. Thompson sitting alone and miserable, and the two empty chairs that should have been for Ethan and me, I smile. I take a bite of my lasagna, and for the first time in a long time, I feel truly free.